Hi, I'm Brian Crombie, and we're going to be talking on the Brian Crombie Show. We're going to be talking about politics, arts, business, and social issues on the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. So I want to introduce you to a fascinating young guy, Hifazat Faz Ahmad. Goes by the nickname Faz. He's a really interesting guy. He's president of DX3 Canada and president of IoT, which is Internet of Things events. And we're going to talk tonight about the fourth industrial revolution, because this guy is there. He's got an education in this background, and he's got two events going on in sort of what's happening with digitization and the fourth industrial revolution, Internet of Things. And so Faz, is the fourth industrial revolution a real thing?
It is a real thing, and it's well and truly upon us. It's been being quantified for about 8-9 years now. About 10 years ago, or less than 10 years ago, 2012, 2013, the size of that fourth industrial revolution, or IoT businesses, was under $100 billion. Right now, it's over $470 billion and expected to grow to about $1,300 billion by 2026.
Okay, I can understand that the businesses are growing. There's no question the businesses are growing. But what some people are talking about, and it was the topic at Davos this year, the big think tank in Switzerland, that this could be as big as the first, second, and third industrial revolutions. And just to sort of give you and give all of our listeners the background, the first industrial revolution was the steam engine. And the creation of factories and things like that. The second was oil and gas, and what that did to cars, to industry, to transportation, etc. The third, supposedly 50 years ago, was information technology and computers. And now they're thinking that this digitization, Internet of Things, advanced manufacturing, augmented reality, artificial intelligence are going to have as much an impact of us as going from the horse and buggy to industrial, gas-fired power plants and companies. Do you really believe that?
Yes, I mean, the impact is in a slightly different way. The impact is in a sense that we may not feel it as much as a transformation as we have felt in the first two, mainly because it doesn't affect our daily life significantly better, but the impact as the end result remains the same. Introduction of electricity, obviously from steam to electricity, was a huge change for anyone in that environment. We look at Internet of Things more of as a gimmicky, so Alexa, Siri, Fitbits and stuff. But the impact on the industry, as in imagine the objects that are available in the world today, and we're connecting all of those objects. So right now, the growth of telecoms, the growth of internet is based on connecting people to each other. So users at the end of the day. So now if you can take that and multiply it by a few thousand times and connect all the objects to each other. So once you connect the objects, the impact, the net result will be very, very sort of strong and long-lasting.
Okay, so you're talking about the Internet of Things, connecting everything up.
Yeah.
So give us a practical example. How is everything going to be connected, and how is it going to change our life?
So from one end, you can literally look at what happens when we leave our house. Our cell phones today carry more information and more connectivity than any other device in the history of mankind we have seen before. Another way to look at it is that driving a car to go from point A to point B, it's effectively a wasted effort for people. We could literally automate that process and have smart vehicles that will take us from point A to point B while we are either recuperating or doing our work. So the effort is reduced.
Sometimes it's helpful to have a little bit of break in between.
So it's a choice, right? So you want to do that when you want to do that, rather than you're having to do that when you're forced to do that. Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk through I think that's usually four different components of what people describe as the fourth industrial revolution. And this one that we've been talking about is the Internet of Things. One of the other ones is advanced manufacturing. And so what is that? That's like 3D printing and robots and stuff like that?
So robots and printing is just one component of that. And Internet of Things in itself, I mean, the term comes from a couple of consulting firms, whether it's Internet of Things or you look at it, industrial Internet of Things. Manufacturing is just a component of that, just as it's oil and gas is a component of that, the city management is a component of that. But it's all about connecting objects that will talk to each other, generate information, as in you collect data, and that data is then used to sort of using artificial intelligence to make decisions in how you're going to go about doing things. So at the barest, like the simplest model, you can look at thermostats in our homes that are smart, so you can activate them through Wi-Fi, but you can also give instructions that the moment the temperature reaches this point, you're going to disconnect. But on the advanced level, your manufacturing is completely either through robotics, and the level of sort of efficiency goes up, but the accidents go down. So there was a study done a few years ago about large trucks that operate in minefields and oil fields in sort of Western Canada.
Yep.
The efficiencies just on those trucks was over about $70 million a year. And that's simply for the fact that a truck has to go down a quarry, pull something up. That's a pretty boring, mundane job to do if that's what you're doing for 9 hours a day.
Yep.
And you have to stop for coffee breaks, for like personal breaks, the risk that you carry with every driver going down. That process can simply be automated. And that's actually happening right now. There are fully automated trucks that are operating where your efficiency, and the efficiency they looked at it purely from was a tire usage. So what will be the impact of doing that, and how much money will you save just by using better, sort of less usage of a truck, and how much tires will you save? So that's on one side. The Humber River Hospital that opened up a few years ago is a fully automated hospital. So their lab, their sort of pharmacy and everything is robotics and 100% automated. And we were talking to the CIO a few years ago, and they had mentioned that they've got efficiency of about 22-23% that they're looking at. So even in that sense, you say the number of times there's a human error, we give a wrong pill to someone, or a wrong results go into someplace else, those errors go down. So your efficiency goes up.
I can understand the efficiency goes up, no question, but it's going to have a huge impact on employment. You know, I heard the statistic that, you know, and you're talking about transportation, truck drivers, that something like 60% of truck driving could be replaced by autonomous vehicles within the next 10 to 20 years. And you think about how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are driving trucks in North America. That's a huge unemployment. And then they talked about something like 60 to 70% of the first couple of years of auditors, of lawyers, all being able to be automated by artificial intelligence or computers. So what are we going to do with all these, you know, lower paid entry-level jobs?
Have better quality of life. So the jobs do change, absolutely no doubt about that, but the jobs don't go away. They change form into something else. So if you think about it, that okay, if the front level jobs that we look at today, they don't exist, but on the other hand, so much data is coming through, someone needs to go through that data and actually make some sense of it. So then those jobs will open up. So artificial intelligence.
So you won't be a truck driver, you're going to be a data analyzer.
Possibly. Now, having said that, we did talk to 3 or 4 CEOs of few of the largest sort of trucking companies in Ontario. The average age of a truck driver in Ontario right now is about 57 years old. And that's one of their biggest challenges, that they're not finding enough people to replace an aging population of truck drivers. It's a hard job. People don't want to. Young kids don't want to become a truck driver. So they are already facing those challenges. So the transportation companies are actually in favor of automating or having sort of autonomous vehicles. The challenge lies somewhere else, mostly in terms of the legislation, and whether it's the insurance and liability and everything.
Do you think we're going to actually have autonomous vehicles?
Absolutely. I mean, Tesla is an autonomous vehicle, to be fair. And we've already have that. And we've got, I mean, we've had a trial in, actually, I think on Highway 400 a few years ago, where there's like a platooning. So one truck, which is driven by a human driver, and but another 3 or 4 behind them, which are being used as autonomous vehicles. And the trial happened about 4 or 5 years ago. We're there. The only thing sort of standing in that way is our legislation and the fear. So people are afraid of autonomous vehicles. So there's an innate thing, I think, out of watching movies like iRobot and stuff, that we don't trust robots, which is kind of ironic because they exist in our homes right now. Like, it doesn't have to be a physical body. They're collecting our data. They're using that data for advertising, the messaging you get, the kind of things you do, the choices you make. So yeah, absolutely no doubt in my mind that in the next 5 to 10 years, autonomous vehicles will be a reality.
You know, I spoke with a planner for the City of Toronto, and they were saying that it could change, autonomous vehicles could change our urban fabric as much as the car did. And that, you know, it's interesting, we went from horse and buggy to cars, and the cars were the green solution at the time because the horse and buggies left a lot of crap behind. And what it did, though, is it changed our urban fabric because we could go far farther, so it created the opportunity for suburbs. You know, the carriage house could be now attached to a house rather than separated because you no longer had the horse in the carriage house. And so it created garages, which created, you know, the front of houses became often 1/3 to 2/3 garage, and the doorway and the porch, you know, slimmed down. If not, frankly, the porch disappeared. And so it changed the urban fabric. And he said, think about it, autonomous vehicles could change our urban fabric. We no longer need garages. We no longer need driveways. The autonomous vehicles are going to circulate, pick us up on the street. And he said, think about downtown, you're not going to need parking lots. Think about stadiums and arenas, you're not going to need parking lots. But what you're going to need is the mother of all kiss and ride drop-offs, because you're going to have a whole bunch of people arriving by autonomous vehicle, dropping you off, and then coming back to pick you up.
So I mean, that certainly is the case. And an interesting part is that now with COVID, we're already moving, sort of looked at movement of people away from core downtown into suburbs. Working from home is a reality, so it does support the idea of autonomous vehicles. The other part that kind of works with autonomous vehicles is that the ownership of vehicle. If I'm not going to use a vehicle 24/7, or my use of a vehicle is twice a day, then do I need to own a vehicle? Would that vehicle be a lease from a manufacturer or someone else who could then effectively lend it to me and 5 other people on my street, and they will drop me to work and pick me up from work or run my groceries for me whenever I need them? So those things will fundamentally change how we view things. Now, it does go hand in hand with sort of millennials, where the focus is more on experience rather than ownership or fractional ownership. So it does lend itself to that as a model.
We're chatting tonight with Faz Ahmad, an expert on he's president of a company called DX3, which is about marketing the digital economy, president of an event called the Internet of Things, IoT, expert on what's going on with the Fourth Industrial Revolution. We're going to take a break and come back more, and I'm going to ask him about artificial intelligence. Stay with us.
Assalamu alaikum. We are in the month of Ramadan, and I'm looking forward to celebrating this blessed time with you. Over the years, I've personally seen the strength of unity that this month brings to the Canadian Muslim community. This is an opportunity to learn and to join you in this holy month of purification and celebration. Ramadan Mubarak.
With friends, family, or your child, remember Tangy Chef ka naam.
At Tangy Chef, everything is cooked to perfection in homemade spices. 49 Kennedy Road, South Unit 1, Brampton. Phone
647-247-0999.
647-247-0999. Tangy Chef, discover your flavors.
Hakka House, an authentic halal Chinese and Thai cuisine in Milton. मजेदार खानों का मरकज, कम्युनिटी का पसंदीदा हलाल चाइनीज रेस्टोरेंट. डाइन इन, टेक आउट, डिलीवरी एंड कैटरिंग. फैमिली के साथ आइए, हम आपकी खिदमत के लिए तैयार हैं. 395 मेन स्ट्रीट ईस्ट, मिल्टन. फोन नंबर 905-878-7800 or visit our website hakkahouse.milton.ca.
ओंटारियो का कोविड-19 प्लान फैलाव को रोकने और जिंदगियां बचाने में मदद फराहम कर रहा है. जब तक हम सबको वैक्सीन नहीं लग जाती, मास्क पहनें, अपने हाथ धोएं और फासला रखें. हम अब तक इकट्ठे चलते रहे हैं और पूरे ओंटारियो में रोजाना हजारों लोग वैक्सीन लगवा रहे हैं. आपकी बारी जल्द आने वाली है. ओंटारियो के वैक्सीन प्लान के बारे में मजीद जानें अदायगी शुदा मिन जानिब हुकूमत ओंटारियो।
Your kid's life is already in motion, but if distracted or disengaged at school, each day takes her farther away from her goals. At Sylvan, we create a personalized plan for your child with our in-depth assessment. Our certified teachers use a technology-based approach, so your child not only catches up, but gets ahead of the game. And now you can also help your child push the edge. With Sylvan Edge, our exciting hands-on STEM courses bring science, technology, engineering, and math together in exciting new ways.
सिल्वन लर्निंग सेंटर, आपके बच्चों का कामयाब मुस्तकबिल ही है हमारी पहचान। हमसे रब्ता करें at 905-814-8177, Monday to Friday 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Here's to the people, pioneers searching for better, ambitious fortune seekers in strange new places. They're the inspiration behind Zoom, the fast and secure money transfer app from PayPal.
Math might seem hard for others to learn and love, but at Math Project, our students are empowered by it. As an award-winning accelerated math program, Math Project empowers children with life skills such as critical thinking and problem solving. Many of our parents proudly report their children scoring perfect to near perfect marks. Math Project's vision is to promote out-of-the-box thinking and create problem solvers of tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Brian Crombie, and we're going to be talking on the Brian Crombie Show. We're going to be talking about politics, arts, business, and social issues on the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. We're chatting tonight about the fourth industrial revolution with Faz Ahmad, an expert. He's president of two different companies that have events in the space. One's called DX3, which is a conference about digitization in marketing, and IoT events, which is Internet of Things. Faz, we were talking about Internet of Things, and we were talking about advanced manufacturing. One of the third areas that people talk about is artificial intelligence as being part of the fourth industrial revolution. What is artificial intelligence?
So artificial intelligence is to create algorithms that are self-learning and have the ability to take decisions within the parameters that are set. So they will analyze the data, learn from that, and take action. So once again, if we look at it, say, okay, the moment the temperature goes a certain point, we want our systems to shut down. So artificial intelligence, the algorithms will say, okay, these are the parameters set for us that under this temperature, external temperature, this many people in a building, once it reaches this point, I need to shut down the fans or the cooling or heating, and it will do that. And the moment it goes below a certain point, it will pick it up again. So,
but that is just a thermostat, the way you've described. I think artificial intelligence takes it even farther in that the machine is learning more than was programmed in it. So, you know, you're talking about programming a computer, a machine, but artificial intelligence is when the computer can program itself, is it not?
It is a self-learning algorithm. So yes, it will look at the pattern, what has happened previously, and then improve upon that and utilize those learnings. And so continuously, the longer it stays working, the more it will learn from it, the better decisions it will make. And once again, the better decision it makes, the more it will learn from those decisions and continue to evolve.
Yeah.
But it does remain within the parameters that are set.
So it's fascinating. There's a couple of examples, and you and I have talked about this before. One of them is radiology, and there's been studies done on radiologists, and that IBM Watson, which is a artificial intelligent computer, actually is far better at finding cancers than radiologists are, particularly later in the day. And radiologists get tired and miss stuff, and this Watson learns as it goes and finds more and more cancers, and learns as it goes with finding more and more cancers, as in unbelievably accurate in reading X-rays and CAT scans and other radiology kind of outputs. And so it's fascinating that a computer can do a better job than a well-trained physician.
So, I mean, it's not that a computer can do a better job than a well-trained physician. It's just that the computer will look at those things more objectively without any inherent biases. Michael Lewis actually wrote a book about it a few years ago where they've done the exact same thing, where they sat down the two economists from Israel actually looked at studies from numerous doctors and asked them for their diagnosis of this, and everyone, or many of them, had different diagnoses based on how they were interpreting data. And at that time, even in late 80s, early 90s, they built a very rudimentary computer program, and their sort of diagnosis was actually more accurate. We all carry inherent biases, whether we are aware of it or not, and these things will take sort of those biases out of it. The only thing it does is that it gives you a support. The physician cannot be replaced because it's not about everything about objectivity. It's sometimes more about the context.
Yep.
So they should be utilized in doing the best and making the maximum use of their time, whereas a lot of this sort of legwork can be done by data crunchers or artificial intelligence. Now, Toronto at the moment is one of sort of the hubs and global spots when it comes to artificial intelligence, with a few of the international companies setting up head offices or their research offices in Toronto or around the GTA. So in that sense, Canada does have a sort of already a leg up on the rest of the world, that we are doing some really good work out of regional universities or next local universities around Toronto. So that will continue to grow. Now that's another opportunity for creating jobs. And so the jobs will just transform themselves from one to the other. So obviously the jobs that existed 30, 40 years ago won't exist, but new jobs will open up.
And I guess the fourth is digitization of the economy. And you've got two conferences that are on sort of this topic. One is DX3, and am I correct, that's sort of digitization of marketing?
Marketing and retail. So it's effectively how digital economy works for retail and by extension marketing. Yes, that is correct.
And then the next one is your smart cities, which is digitization of cities, I guess.
Absolutely. So when we look at sort of the distribution of Internet of Things, smart cities is like number 2 or number 3. So manufacturing is always looked at as number 1 subsector within that industry, and smart cities is the number 2 or number 3 sector around the world. Right now, for example, China is building 500 smart cities in collaboration with a Danish architecture firm, where it's literally sort of the Jetsons idea that your car will be parked on its own, the coffee will be made by robots. I mean, to a degree, it's
really, so the Jetsons is going to become real.
It is going to become real. I mean, to a degree, it is kind of scary as well. But that's all artificial intelligence.
Flying cars, is that coming?
I don't think they're flying cars, but like in terms of using transport, which is managed by artificial intelligence to maximize or optimize timings for people, how you live in your house, what TV do you watch, what time do you take coffee, how. So your algorithms, the AI will constantly keep learning, evolving from that. But smart cities is absolutely the next big thing.
So we had this program, this opportunity with sidewalks down in downtown Toronto, in the East Don Lands, that we lost. And that was going to be a smart city. Is it bad that we lost that opportunity?
Yes and no. I mean, it depends the way you look at it. I value sort of privacy a lot more, and I think it's within our right to have had that conversation. I really don't think that that's like a loss. It's almost one of those things that it didn't work for us.
But Google was going to invest a ton of money in making that area unbelievably smart. It was going to be garbage, it was going to be street signs, it was going to be pedestrian walkways, everything was going to be supposedly smart.
It would have been smart, but then where does all that data go? Where does all that learning go? Because if it's just going to one business and they're going to own it and they're not going to protect their citizens and not commit to it, then is it all worth it?
So you think these smart has to be owned by the city or by a government rather than by private enterprise? Is that what your point is?
Not necessarily that it shouldn't be owned by private enterprise, but there needs to be an oversight and agreed principles of what can be done and what cannot be done. Without an oversight, it's just a recipe for anyone to be able to do anything. I mean, we also have to understand that the fear of being hacked is never too far away. So when all your personal information is with someone, including your medical records, your bank records, and everything in between, that fear is a legitimate fear that we need to be aware of that.
So it sounds to me like you believe this fourth industrial revolution is a real thing. We've heard some people talk about the COVID-19 era. We've had 9 years worth of digitization progress in 9 months because we've all had to have become far more far more adept at Zoom and Microsoft Teams and living and working from home and dealing with everything remotely and ordering our product remotely and all that kind of stuff. Do you think once COVID's over, we're going to go back to our old ways, or are we going to keep going with this sort of digital economy?
So in my opinion, I don't think we can go back. It's a wrinkle in time. There is simply no way of going back. We would like to go back and do or enjoy things that we liked. So going out with friends, going to sports games, dinners and stuff. But I just simply don't believe that you can make people come to work 5 days a week anymore, or you can make people live in small condos downtown when they've gotten used to living outside in a much better space. Or similarly, I mean, the other challenge we have as sort of when we look at municipality is that last 20 years, the conversation within municipalities has been urbanization, build up. So the criticism has always been, don't build sort of detached homes, build multi-use larger buildings, and don't choose cars. Now, urbanization, the downside of urbanization is that if there is a virus going around, it goes around very quickly. And similarly, if you are in a shared transport, your chances of getting it is very, very high for something like COVID. So we do need to rethink.
Yeah, though it's interesting, Harvard came out with a study just this week that showed that it was almost impossible to catch the virus on an airplane. The reason why is because the ventilation is so much better. You get air circulation 10 times an hour every 6 minutes versus the typical school institution, which is 3 times an hour, and it takes 15 minutes of exposure to get the virus. So you can't get an airplane. So what we got to do is just have better HVAC systems in our transit. Anyway, Faz Ahmad, thank you so much. Your conference is when in May?
So it's 27th and 28th of May. It was supposed to be at City Hall, Mississauga, but now it will be a virtual event. It's supported by City of Mississauga.
And if people want to join, is there a website?
So it's intelligencities.ca.
Intelligencities.ca. Faz Ahmad on Fourth Industrial Revolution is a real thing. Get ready for it. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Good night.
ओंटारियो का कोविड-19 प्लान फैलाव को रोकने और जिंदगियां बचाने में मदद फराहम कर रहा है। जब तक हम सबको वैक्सीन नहीं लग जाती, मास्क पहनें, अपने हाथ धोएं और फासला रखें। हम अब तक इकट्ठे चलते रहे हैं और पूरे ओंटारियो में रोजाना हजारों लोग वैक्सीन लगवा रहे हैं। आपकी बारी जल्द आने वाली है। ओंटारियो के वैक्सीन प्लान के बारे में मजीद जानें। अदायगी-शुदा मिन जानिब हुकूमत ओंटारियो।
Are you looking for a different type of realtor? Meet Sohail Khan, broker owner of Century 21 Innovative Realty Inc. You don't need to know a lot about real estate, but you do need to know Sohail Khan, who knows a whole lot about real estate. He knows contracts, negotiations, research, he knows the market, and he really knows the area. When it comes to real estate buying or selling, Sohail Khan is a know-it-all. Get to know Sohail Khan. 416-822-0305 or at sohailkhan.ca. Experience excellence.
This is your masjid. This is my masjid. This is our masjid.
This is my masjid. This is your masjid. This is our masjid. I am Kamran Rashid, President of Mississauga Muslim Community Center.
And this masjid, this house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, needs your help. This masjid is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We learn, we teach the love and the akhlaq of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, not only for this generation, but for the coming generations as well. And so this sign of Allah, this my masjid, this your masjid, needs your help. We need 365 donors to donate $495. That is the running expense of this masjid for one day. If you divide $495 by 12, you get $1.36 per day. That's all we're asking. We're asking you to sponsor one day of the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep it running for this generation and for the coming generations, so that can continue to obtain the suhbah from the house of Allah and garner the love of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, we, the representatives of Jami al-Mustafa, again need your help. to keep the house of Allah running, to keep the house of Allah open. And we need you. We need 365 of you to each donate one running expense day. One daily running expense cost of this masjid, which is $495. My dear brothers, again, this is just not only my masjid. This is your masjid. This is our masjid. This is a masjid with which we can harbor the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So my dear brothers, my dear sisters, please donate as generously as possible and keep the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open for all. Let's show everyone that when Muslims get together, there is nothing that can tear us apart. Donate generously to Jami al-Mustafa, Mississauga Muslim Community Center. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.